jobs in last 6 odd months. So you're like a masiha for the job seekers. Well,
I don't know that, but it's difficult, Rohit.
practically speaking, nothing much has happened.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
I mean, these are unprecedented times. We've been speaking with a lot of placement heads, placement officers, people who landed their jobs. Their whatever pre-placement offers or placement offers have been rolled back. People are being fired across, and so on and so forth. So I thought I'll just quickly have four learned men today who could soothe some nerves on the other side, saying this is temporary. This shall too pass. I mean, it's a matter of maybe one more quarter. So that's the kind of uh, positivity today we look out from you, all of you, from the panel. So let's start. We've gone live. Hi everyone. We are today discussing the most important topic, perhaps of your careers. I mean, perhaps for your life, perhaps for of what you've been thinking in last 6 months. What will happen to your careers? I mean, where will it go? How will they kind of kickstart, and how will your career then proceed from there? And so today we are joined by four excellent speakers, leaders in their own rights, and cross functionalities. So we have a HR head with us who's been on hiring spree, as we learned from him. We have a CTO with us who would maybe shed a light on what kind of talent that he looks at when he hires in a post COVID world, which should happen maybe sooner than later. We have Daya sir, who has been training people on and upskilling them so that they can land up jobs and they can land up projects. And we have Thomas Ibrahim, who's part of HR community and is working on a lot of technology solutions around HR community. So, so now again, could do a quick introduction because we've gone live. Everything else was like, yeah. So like a 60-second introduction of each one of you. I could read that, but it would be nice to hear from the horse's mouth directly. So we start with Thomas sir to begin with.
Yeah, hi friends. My name is Thomas Abraham. I've spent about 30 years in corporate life. My last role was CEO of a company called Walters Clover. I ran their tax and accounting business in India, and just prior, and that was for about 5 years. And before that, I was the CEO of a software company, UK-based software company called Sage Software. So I ran their operations for about 5 years as well. Over the last 4.5 years, I have transformed myself to really work in the startup ecosystem, and today I work with a whole bunch of B2B SaaS companies, helping them with their business strategy, go-to-market, alliances, partnerships, and global expansion. Within B2B SaaS, I have gone a bit deep in HR tech, and I have a portfolio of about 6 HR tech companies that I work with. In fact, one of the companies in my portfolio was acquired by a global consulting firm in December, just before the pandemic, and another one just got into the Y Combinator program in July of this year. Apart from that, I also have a YouTube channel which is called Musings with Thomas Abraham, which focuses on business and strategy. And I am based in Delhi and very excited to be part of this show today. Thank you. Yeah, over to you, Rohit. Yeah.
Maybe Rohit, you're on mute.
Rohit, you are on mute.
Yeah.
Okay, so till the time Rohit comes, let's take this podium by ourselves, and why don't we start introducing ourselves?
Yes,
Sure,
So
Amit.
I
over,
think it's wise.
yeah.
Sure,
So
Amit.
Mr.
You
Yeah.
can go
So
ahead. You
please.
can go ahead, maybe.
Okay, me? Fine.
Yeah.
So, good afternoon, friends. It's really a pleasure having you all. I represent, as Rohit was saying, HR fraternity. It's around 17, 20 years working in the same domain, representing organizations in human resource department. Currently, I'm working with a company called Hanu. We are a cloud innovation company. It started in 2002. It's around 700, 800 rock stars we have across the globe in Americas, India, Canada, and Europe. My perspective would be here to tell you about how these job prospects look among this pandemic or when it's passing out. So I would give you all what I have to share about the how job and cloud and all the innovation around it would be adding to new opportunities in the circle. Professionally, I've worked with companies like Motorola, Philips, and Hanu is my third venture. And that's how the story unfolds for me. Thank you. Over and out for you.
I'm here finally.
Chirag,
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Chirag, would
Chirag.
you like to?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rohit, and a pleasure to be part of this eminent panel. About myself, essentially, I represent a company called Embassy Group. It's predominantly into real estate, across the various asset classes, ranging from business parks to hotels to co-working to co-living, residential, integrated township, and so on and so forth. So, prior to that, I've sizable experience in the world of retail, steel manufacturing, and IT companies like Oracle and Infosys as well. Glad to be sharing my views and understand how things are shaping up in these crazy times. Back to you, there, sir.
There, sir.
Thank you, Chirag. Hello, everyone. My name is Daya Prakash, and I have been in the industry for almost 25 years now. Started my career way back in '94. So, for 6 years, predominantly in IT services companies, focused in the US market. And then thereafter, I spent good 13 years in LG Electronics, heading their entire IT operations as the CIO. And thereafter I thought that I'll start a service with CIO on demand scenario, which I later on in 2018 extended along with my few friends from not just CIO on demand services to talent on demand services. And today I am the founder of Talent on Lease, and we have been serving some very prestigious clients and helping them fulfill their talent demands. I am really looking forward to today's session and learn from my co-panelists here from the experience that they bring to the table and the practitioners view that they have through their own experience over a long journey in the corporate. So really looking forward to this exciting session today and sharing my own experiences and practitioners view with all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rohit, for having me here today in
Sure.
this.
No. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I want to start with two problems that we have seen. One, of course, there's a job loss that has already happened. I mean, if a report is to be believed, over 2 lakh jobs have already been taken off the rooster, so to say. However, the problem is grave with the first timers. The problem is, you know, uh, in any case, computer science graduates were the most underemployed resource people in the past as well. So not everyone or not all of them were landing up jobs in any case. The second, however, problem today is with this whole remote working, whatever style of new office or a working style, a lot of companies have said, we don't want to take freshers on because we will have absolutely no control on how they will perform while sitting in their homes. Now, Amit, you've been hiring these freshers. I mean, how are you, you know, uh, addressing this point of view? Does this thought of whether they will be able to perform sitting in their homes, you will not be able to give them hands-on training, etc. How is an organization like Hanu addressing this?
Very right, Rohit. You have this perspective right. No, I see that freshers and as you said, that people who haven't hit the job market yet do have this feeling. But say, I kind of in disagreement with the whole scenario which is being portrayed. Giving from the example that Hanu, we are not that big, multi-thousand people company. It's just around 500-600 rock stars we have. What we did is we believe and we start with a trust-based relationship, and it's all happened, in terms of work from home and giving your rock stars the ability to perform. That you give them all tools required. So yes, companies do have these apprehensions that they have no control about it, but we don't believe in controlling because it's about your achievement on the KRAs or OKRs assigned to you. So let's give an example. So we from the early March on anyway, we were very flexible company. We did not have this culture before anyway that okay, you have to come in office all time, all days. No, it became that from the flexible hours we became flexible days company, and it's a lot back before even this corona was. And during the corona it became work from anywhere company. So and we kept on adding those fresh talent from the campuses. How it worked for us, there's a program we run called Hanu Azure Academy, and it's very essential that when any fresher is coming on, he or she should know what kind of responsibility he should be sharing it. Earlier when office were on and people were coming, there were more culture of collaboration, peer understanding. With the work from home, that went away. But then how did you cope with that? So what we did is, instead of just in-premises collaboration platform, we made it a virtual platform where all the refresh recruits do not feel that they are not learning anything. There were small groups formed, the teams were formed, and it's all about working in a team anyways. So for us, the rock stars who joined us, we feel there was no lack of collaboration. Second, there was no lack of productivity. In fact, they became more productive because they were into the impression that if they are not coming to office, they are not learning anything. So what in turn it came that they were putting more efforts in self-learning modules. So that's how it happened. And we as a company collaborated and given them more tools and platforms where they could use it. Journey from side of Hanu is that we never stopped. We saw that this is only momentary because world is not dying any today. It's not like Corona came and pandemic came and everybody stopped breathing just suddenly. No, it just slowed down the movements bit. And we, unlike other companies, we honored our commitments to have even the rock stars who were offered in from the previous batch. We reached out to all campuses with which we have relationship that, hey, if you have people who were honored or who were given job offers by all biggies last year, and by any so reason they are not able to join or withdraw the offer, give them to us. And campuses were really happy to listen that, and we had kind of around 50-60 students from very prominent universities who were placed by campuses in these biggies came to us because they wanted to start, and we also helped them to get it. And I said we are blessed that we did it because those the people who came from the last batches had already the learning curve which was higher than new campuses which we are graduating in 2021. So it's all about your mindset as a company, and we believe that this fresh blood is very very important. Technology is very rapid, but you must have all heard that a 1 year guy in technology can easily beat around 5 years experience in terms of skilling and the learning curve. And that is true because these minds are so sharp and creative that, okay, I tell you why. Because I'm an old goat, right? So if anything which comes to me, I take that information bits and byte. I try to process it, then I to learn it. And anybody who's coming to my department who is super sharp and creative, they come and they brainstorm like, okay, then I have to see, okay, am I really belonging here nowadays? And that's how it's happening with freshers as well. We appreciated the passion and the creativity they are coming with, and that beats every lateral knowledge you anticipate from experienced hires. From my point of view, it did impact. Few companies did not honor, but most of them did, and they hired because we see that campus recruitments are there. We are competing with everyone because we believe in getting best of best. So most of the campuses we visited in 0 week of placements, and by the time we were doing that, there were fellow companies who were tier one enterprises, and that's we see that demand is there. Students are competing. And one thing, if any one of you in the job aspiration side is listening me, please, this is one take I want to tell you before I sign off or give my to my peers, is that do not just sit back and think about, okay, now nothing is happening because corona has hit up and pandemic has destroyed the market. No, you have to use this opportunity to keep learning. When I interview anyone from the campuses, my first two thought of process is this: first, how this person has contributed his time or her time during this last 6 months when academia campuses were not on, and second, how passionate were you about learning these things. So in turn, it actually gave you upper hand, because these 6 months when you were not in college and you were not spending time attending the lectures, most of the time, of course, they were virtual lectures as well, but if you learned few things on the languages or algorithm or programming side or any other new skills, be it AI or machine learning or whatever, it added value to your profile. And we only appreciated this fact that we are blessed that we came to campuses and we had all of you. Students' excitement was phenomenal, and then we couldn't be more happy to be in this scenario when we hired more than around 300 people just from these campuses this season. So guys, keep learning, do not stop. Keep adding skills to your resume, and that's what all companies look for. It's not about that how did you perform in your academia more of, but then how did you utilize your time in order to improve yourself. That's all from me for this part of session.
Mm, absolutely. And you've addressed a bit of my second questions, and that's to all of you. What should be, I mean, everyone got 6 months that we were all dreaming of. Maybe not in the intended manner. We did not want it to kind of be forced down in our respective houses, but we all of us wanted a break. We wanted to be with our families and so on and so forth. Some of us did some work, some of us acquired some skills. I don't know, I'm sure a lot of students have acquired a lot of skills via these Khan academies and An academies and Byju's of the world, not Byju's but other platforms. What, and Chirag and maybe Daya sir and then Thomas sir, whomsoever wants to pick this up, what what skills you would have ideally wanted these students to have picked up in last 6 odd months, which you believe that the education system is not providing them? I mean, let's kind of hit where it hurts to all the students as well. What are the key skills that you would have wanted, or and so that students know whether they were on the right track during these breaks or not? Chirag and then maybe Daya sir and then Thomas sir. I think he's disconnected. Or there, sir. Would you want to start first until the time Chirag
Sure,
comes? Yeah,
sure, Rohit.
yeah.
Sure, Rohit. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. So I think Rohit, first thing first, actually, the impact of pandemic on the tech job, right? And let me take everyone back in early 90s when the whole India IT industries story started, right? Ever since, we have witnessed that the the challenge that was faced by the industry is about the right resources, right? So this industry has been struggling for many decades now for recruiting the right resources. When I say right resources that brings to the brings skills to the table that are deployable, usable by the organization in the constructive work that they are doing for their various clients or the customers, right? Or even if it is a product company, these people could directly contribute to the development of the product or the certain aspects of the product development. So that's where I think we have faced this particular challenge for many years now. The impact on the tech jobs, of the pandemic, in my mind, is that it has actually, increase the the level of the competition which was there in terms of survival of the fittest, from a true engineering background student, from a true technical background student point of view, right? So I think there, in today's market also, if you see, there are people who have been refusing offers from the companies because they are getting much better offer from another company, and then they are refusing there because they are getting much better offer from another company, right? Because they exactly know that they are the people who brings in hands-on skills that are desired by the organizations. They are really looking forward to acquire those talents in their organizations, and it's a perpetual talent war out there when it comes to the right skilled resources, right? And we have seen that talent on lease at large, that there is a fierce competition amongst the corporate as well to acquire the right talent. So that's the story, right? So on one side, so people who are who are graduated, who've done the BTech, and when we do the assessments for our various customers that we work with, and we figure it out that they have scored maybe 60%, 70% in the assessments, and when they are made to sit on the coding test, Rohit, at times we are like surprised to see that the coding skills are absolutely zero, maybe 10%, 20%, right? I mean, such a pathetic low scoring out there, which means in the industry, in the academia world today, students who are there, they are focusing more on the the theoretical aspect of acquiring knowledge, rather than spending time on dirting their hands on the coding or on the skills that are really going to make them employable. So that is one major thing that I see missing, and I want to communicate this very, very clearly to all my audience today, that it has to be a skill which is hands-on skills. You cannot be, so gone are the days in the IT industry where you could be a people manager and yet flourish in the industry, right? So I mean, you have to be real hands-on, on the job kind of workforce who's delivering something as an aspect of the product or the service that you're providing. So that is one point that I wanted to make. The second point I wanted to make is that if you really look at current situation, the pandemic has thrown to us, all of us, there are certain technologies. Amit spoke about cloud, and he represents the organization which is one of the leading providers of the cloud related services, like so cloud is one skill. Information security is another skill, right? There are other skills which is AI, machine learning, which are in demand today, and there is a huge shortage out there of resources. Trust me, companies are bleeding to acquire those kind of talents, and those talents are nowhere to be found, right? So these are clearly like security, infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, cloud, all these AI, machine learning, those technologies, these skills are still in shortage. There is a huge opportunities for people out there who are the students who are passing out to acquire some good hands-on skills on these areas, and become employable very quickly, and be the the people who are in demand, right? So that is the second point that I wanted to make here. So these are like two things that I want to clearly communicate. Is one, hands-on, the right skill areas that I mentioned, and the second thing is that don't spend a lot of time on theory will not take you anywhere, because the competition is so tough today. Even if Amit would have hired 250 people in last 3 or 4 months, if we ask him, offline, maybe how many, people he would have, gone through in terms of filtering those 250, and the numbers will not come in, in smaller, sense denomination, right? So, I mean, that's the story. So that's where I think we have to focus, Rohit. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just want to add, Daya, yes, you're right. So our selection ratio is 70:1. So see that, yes, so we kind of deliberated that how do you want to select, and you're very right. In terms of analytics and no problem solving skills of students are very low, and that is despite that we only catered, or rather eyed best of the best of their breed from these campuses, because we were among the first companies in them. So what we did is, our online assessment is AI based customized adaptive test, and it's a chat box based test. Nobody else in this market kind of does that. But still, to get to that, and students secure at least 40. And believe, our pass marks is 40%. See, out of these coding two problems, algorithm and coding, we gave them option to choose whatever language they want to choose. We gave them 4 test cases. Okay, do at least 2 or 3, whatever you want to, and still you see the selection ratio is screwed up. But yes, we from the perspective of HR, Mr. Prakash, you are very right to students that you need to develop the skills. We focus, and no, since I've spoken to more thousands of students in last 6 months. Many of the students who excelled in our and who aced our tests are the ones who are already exposed to competitive programming, who are doing the peer programming. They've been taking hackathons, doing their GitHub's problem, hacker, whatever you say. There are hundreds of platforms which you can do and show yourself to the world, right? Get your work published so anybody who's looking at you, go to this and see, okay, fine, this person has contributed and know this kind of stuff. So yes, very right, my friends, you have to demonstrate and learn the technicalities of the world so as you are more employable. We are not going to ask you who was the Ram, Sita, and Allah. No, it's about how much do you know in technology, because we are going to hire you about the skill, which would be useful for the job. And sorry about any misrepresentation about, or rather examples I've given you, but it's just about letting you know that what is important for the company.
Chirag, do you also work on 70:1 ratio? I mean, are you also a very strict employee, so to say?
Not really, not really. I think uh, I would rather prefer to pivot my conversation around employability skills. It varies. It depends on the kind of profile being shortlisted by our HR friends. But essentially, what I see is. Normally, I mean, in any conversation, I don't normally like to pivot my conversation in and around COVID. Just step back. Even if you go back January 2020, the media was going gaga about GDP slowing down, contraction, this, that. We were going through the same stuff. What we are going through now. Only thing is the liver liver, or the reason why it is we were talking about the GDP growth rate has changed from in inertia of Indian politician to COVID, but having said that, I think to put a perspective, like essentially India is as such going through a disruption. That's a fact of life. We can't run away from that. And onus is on us to still continue to think positive, because India is a consumption story, and I'm very bullish on move forward. In terms of whether it's we. But I think what COVID has done. I mean, as I was saying, what COVID eventually has done is that it has accelerated these trends which were already there on writing was there on the wall. Whether you talk about, we used to say retail apocalypse, right? That was pretty much there, and e-commerce was picking up. So, e-commerce, education tech, health tech, these were actually accelerating in these times. So the job requirement or the skill requirement would essentially be in a direction which was already there, whether it's cloud, whether it's health tech, whether it's education tech, whether it's agri tech, and the list goes on and on and on. And essentially, this COVID has speeded up these activities, and that's pretty much about it. Back to you, Rohit.
Sure. Thank you, Chirag. Thomas, sir, my pointed question to you is, what should what should the young audience, the youth, be doing to land up jobs with Amit? I mean, what should the two, three things that you can suggest from your experience of 30 odd years that they should be doing so that they can go very confidently to Amit saying, hey, we are hireable, you know. So instead of 70 is to 1, how can they become like a 30 is to 1, 40 is to 1 as we go along?
Yeah, I think, yeah, thanks so much, Rohit. So I think, I just want to, step back to the entire education system and, and see what the educators can do and what the students as well should do. So I think clearly, I think we all have sort of pointed out in one way or the other that currently, our curriculum struggles to stay updated. And, and clearly under the garb of quality assurance, if there's any curriculum change that needs to be made, it could take about 4 to 5 years. And by the time that new curriculum comes in, it's pretty much outdated again. So that's a huge challenge, and therefore, as Daya rightly mentioned, most of the people coming out of campus are very theoretically oriented. There was also a Gartner study which was recently published, which said that only 16% of employees who have been hired have been found suitable for current roles or future roles, have the skills. So actually, you have the large IT firms who spend several weeks or months training these freshers. So that's really where the education starts. So having said that, I think therefore, I think the interesting thing here is that the focus has to shift from the employer to the employee. Historically, the focus has always been on the employer, which is that employer goes, does campus recruitment, hires a bunch of people based on a variety of tests that they do. Still, they find that they're not up to the mark, but that's the best that they have. Then they put them through a rigorous internal training of specific skills, at their own internal training centers, and then build them up slowly. And then they quickly discover that these employees, somebody gets 10% more, and he or she, flies the nest, right? So there's a very high attrition rate and high churn, and employers are back to the same rut of again rehiring, and the costs are huge. So I think this is a great opportunity for for the focus to shift to the employee. So therefore, what is the employee doing when he or he is studying, in college? How can the employee take the initiative to actually connect with industry when they are studying? Okay, to actually start doing some live projects. And unfortunately, in the Indian system, everybody wants to do everything for money, right? But I think we are today in a situation where you have to say that, look, a student has to say that, look, I'm willing to invest time to learn, right? I'm willing to do an internship. I'm willing to take on a project, not because there's money in it, but because I can learn and because I can therefore equip myself a lot better, right? So to my mind, I think this pandemic and the fact that people are struggling with jobs is also leading to a significant mindset change in people, where people are saying that, look, I need to take control myself. I cannot let a Hanu Software or an Infosys or a TCS or somebody else hire me and then take me on my journey. And there's a lot of there's a lot of courses out there, which are free, which are paid, which they can certainly do. Plus, they can, I think, if they can collaborate with their engineering schools and see how best they can set up potential partnerships with industry and start doing concrete stuff on the ground, and not for money. I mean, they should do it because they have a heart and they have a desire to learn. And as many of us have already mentioned, it's not the theoretical learning, but it's the practical learning which you do not get in the classroom. You can only get it outside the classroom. So if you're going to get it outside the classroom, then you should be willing to take the extra step and put in the time to do it, because you're learning something, and that will then help you, as you sort of get into the job world. So that's one piece where I'm saying that the focus now should shift from the employer to the employee, and the employee now needs to take the ownership on himself or herself to upskill, to learn and upskill, because there's plenty of opportunity out there, right? That's really the first part. The second part I want to touch upon is that what's also really missing in the Indian ecosystem more than any other ecosystem is the total absence of soft skills. And and this is something, sadly, even in programs that the NASSCOM is running called the Future Skills Program and so on, there is so much focus on hard skills and there is no focus on soft skills. And there are so many examples that I give. And I've had live cases in my own ex-organization where we ran a CRM business, and we had we were part of we were subsidiary of a global firm, and we wanted to do some outsourced work, some for our parent company, and we discovered that we had a very good team. They were very skilled, they had the knowledge, their hard skills were perfect, but the soft skills were very poor. And because the soft skills were very poor, converting a problem statement into a requirement and therefore a solution became a very complex thing. There was too much of toing and froing. And this is the feedback that I get from a lot of people that I talk to in the US and in Europe. And they say that, look, India has great talent. Okay, we believe it. But unfortunately, it's not a very, there are some challenges. I mean, the talent is not reliable because, you don't see the same person very often through the project. We find it very difficult to explain, things. They don't sometimes get it. So there are a host of such problems which are there. So I think it's imperative that while you build hard skills, and hard skills are really key because of all the transformation that's happening worldwide, the new technologies that are coming in, it's also extremely important for you to start building some basic basic skills around communication and emotional intelligence and adaptability and teamwork and things of that kind. So I think these are, and there's lots of opportunity today. It's not that there's no opportunity. So I think it's, but again, I will park the ownership. It's an ownership issue, and the ownership now has to lie with the student or the employee. It cannot get constantly parked with the employer, and that's the fundamental shift that the fundamental change that I'd like to talk about, which is like in an organization today, because of remote working, work from home, and so on. The ownership and the responsibility has to shift from the employer to the employee, because he or she is not going to be measured on number of hours they put in, but on their output and their productivity, right? So, I mean, there's a shift of thinking, there's a shift of mindset. Leadership needs to change the way they think, and likewise, employees, students need to fundamentally change the way they actually think. Yeah, those are my couple of points. Thank you. Yep, over to you.
My sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My second question, I mean, not the and Amit can address it to begin with, and then everyone else should chip in. Is genuinely more value being given to the skills, or this is only being said in events, so to say? Are you genuinely now happy to look at people who are not from IITs and triple ITs, from Amities, or from Amities, but people who are from smaller towns, smaller colleges, yet they have skills which can, which can be used by folks like you, and then they can be cultivated into better resources as we go along. Is there a genuine value being given to the skills which students should acquire in their education
Okay,
journey?
right, very right. Even I wanted to speak to on this myself, and wanted to address this. So there are a couple of aspects to it. I tell you. So we as a company, we don't never discriminate between campuses to campus. Our standard package is there, even if you are from the IIT or from interior college of XYZ. So what happens is, and that is one of my observation, there are always number of students who are brightest among the lot, irrespective, right? So if there is a university with 25,000 people, and that is in the cosmopolitan university with in the very urban area, have a brand value, they call themselves number one university, this and that. So let's go. We talk about having their 100 students evaluated. We end up hiring more in terms of final selections. When we go to interior hinterlands college through a campus, let's say joint campus, because we do want to give that opportunity to students, we do hire, but yes, number of students which got hired are less. And it's again, as Thomas said, it's about the match of hard and soft skills. And it's very, very correct that whatever, like how strong candidate in terms of technical knowledge you are, if you're not able to communicate, if you're not able to understand, you're of no value. Because for us, you to teach English or any other language which is preferred by clients, it will take us years. And we cannot just spend that of money. Unfortunately, the reality of this world, even we hired them, and panelists and Thomas correctly touched upon it, that we have to spend time, our resources, money, to cross train them and to first train them. As I mentioned before, Hanu Azure Academy is one program which goes with 30 days of rigorous training post they are hired, and they are on the payroll from the one day, right? So let's see, 30 days of training, classroom training, then 3 months of incubation, and that means 4 months you spend, and then after a year, let's say in few months, when these new hires gets a wing, they fly away, because we don't believe in as other companies do. We don't sign any single agreement that you have to stay XYZ days. No. But then when you say about the value, how it comes, we do say yes. For our intention is to actually say that even whatever college are you from, we believe that you, if you have worked on yourself, there are things which we can make you learn, and there are things which we cannot. So our focus is that your basic core skills in terms of your personality, in terms of your passion, and we have five few qualities, like, as a, that you have to be a good team player, you have a good problem solving skills, you have to be a more passion and more motivated, and no collaborator. And then about the value system we have in Hanu, these are the core skills which we don't want to teach you. That should be inherited when we are talking to you. Rest in the technology side, we see, okay, that this is a minimum bar we set for ourselves. So if you don't know the logic about writing an algorithm, man, you have to pardon us, because that's where we don't want to be and spend around 4 years teaching you that. And that's where the campus comes. Academia is very important. We have collaborated, and the problem is, because why Hanu, company size of us, who is not even 1,000 people as in today, want to spend this much of money and resources training the people and going to campus and hunting talent? First, the problem is the talent we are looking is so unique that it's not in the market, and the people who do have skill have their expectation touching the rocket. So let's say, just an example from the hypothetical terms is, 1 year guy, if we start looking for, let's say, a core cloud computing platform, PaaS services, would demand you 15 lakhs. It's crazy, because whole Indian IT industry works on the cost arbitrage and labor arbitrage principle. And that's what, if you started asking dollars on that, that doesn't work. So companies like us have to spend on the talent. And when we are spending the talent, it becomes so cumbersome for us to manage the talent, to train the talent and all. And on top of it, you have to continuously nurture them, spend on them and all that. And whereas the focus, from you being running a company and innovation, the focus of leaders like us becomes, okay, how do you want to hire? How do you want to train? How do you want to retain? And that's, seriously, I don't want to do that. Reason, it takes your whole energy away. Just an example, from the last 6 months, all I'm doing is visiting all the campuses, hiring in different universities. So we have 20 recruitment team people, along with multiple agencies working with us. Anything and everything we are doing to attract the talent. Do we want to do that? No. But we are forced to do that, because the talent which are available is either not employable to the extent we want to be, or secondly, but there are not enough companies or academia who wants to invest in this. Last, before I sign off on this, I want to tell, yes, there are solutions that, yes, companies do run center of excellence as we do, because we were fed up with the system. We collaborated with 2 major universities in India and one in North America, that we started Hanu Center of Excellence with them. From the very starting, the students are involved. Each year, they take 100 students in that Center of Excellence, and we are given first right of rejection. Right, so these students are given the academia and the curriculum we suggested as their optional subjects. And after the, when they are in the 5th semester and when they become ready to hit the market, Hanu has a first say to absorb all of them, or many of them, or none of them, depending how they did it. So yes, everybody is trying to solve their problem in their own way. But is it the ideal world to deal with? I would say no, because India, from the coming, as a software power of the world, it's only became successful that we had this talent, has this population and the creative minds. But there are other countries picking up, and if you want to remain in race, academics and the institution education system and the tech industry in general have to play greater role in producing quality talent. And that's what my say is. So unless until we don't think now, but no, we are kind of in losing race, because the world never remains same. And apparently, if you see the powers from the past and history who were as you say, the largest economies of the world from the time of BCs, we can start it. One time Persia region was among the top economy of the world. Then this subcontinent, India, was among the top economies of the world, and then became Americas and all. And it's a cycle, right? And how these economy evolve and hit the downstream because of their human capital. And what I see is that we are not really investing enough in our human capital for the future we want to be a top economy of this world. So that's my take, my friends. You have to not only spend on you, just for the sake of having your country prosper and then be known as the legacy that it was. Please learn something which is adding value to yourself and to the country and the prosperity of whole in general. Thank you.
Yeah. So you said,
Rohit, I just
yeah,
wanted to add. I
yeah,
wanted to add
yes, sir.
one short point here. Now, the other thing that we see, typically a lot of Indian, tech professionals, is that they do not. So if you compare India with, let's say, the US or the UK, you'll find that people want to do a particular kind of a role only for a very short period of time, and everybody wants to quickly move into a project management role or into a people management role, and so on and so forth, right? Because of that, the excellence in skills sometimes do not happen. You build some skill, but you never build excellence. Whereas you go to the UK, you go to the US, you'll find that people are in their 40s and 50s and they're doing still programming. I mean, they're still doing the hands-on stuff, right? And that's the reason why if you really look at where are the big product companies that are coming out of. I mean, India is only now making a lot of some headway in product development, but all the big product companies are coming out of the US or Israel or Russia or UK or some of the other European countries. The ones which are really the mega performers. So I think that's another area where I think it's a cultural thing in India, where everybody wants to get into a supervisory role because everybody wants to feel that managing people is the ultimate goal that I have in life. And it's not about excellence in technology. So I think building excellence in technology is again something which has to be inbuilt into the DNA of every tech professional who is seeking a career in technology. Yeah. Thank you.
So I don't know about tech, but I genuinely believe managing people is far more tougher than anything else.
Yeah, I know.
There's a you
But people.
interact with, yeah, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I'm done.
There's
Thank
a,
you so much. Yeah.
yeah, okay. There's a you interact with lot of people, lot of entry level job seekers, and you try and tell them. Uh, how do you see the market panning out from here? Do you genuinely see there would be less of jobs but more of projects? The whole gig economy coming in technology work space, which will kind of rule for next 2 years. Do you foresee it happening? Because I see a lot of people. I might be completely wrong. Early the freshers, they do not want to work or rather do internships or project works, but because they want to land up a job, a cushy job. Do you foresee this changing now?
Sure. Uh, so,
Chirag, yeah.
was it for me, Rohit?
Okay, you and then Daya sir, it's okay. Yeah.
Sure. Sorry. So yeah, I think to this point, I definitely concur with what you just spoke about, Rohit. Gig economy is the way to go for these millennials, Gen Zs. You know, this generation completely lives on edge, and they don't want to be tied also to a corporate bureaucracy. That's number one. Number two being, if you see a classic example like, a global meltdown of 2008, right? The companies like Airbnb to Olas to Ubers to, the Flipkarts and Amazons, they actually came to the fore. Now, how did that happen? It's because they were taking this sharing economy to the absolute next level. And what I feel is that it's the mental, it's a generational shift from how our older generation used to think versus what these Gen Zs and millennials are thinking. Owning a car used to be a milestone in someone's career. Owning a real estate used to be a milestone in someone's life, for a generation prior to me at least, right? Things have really, really seen a paradigm change. Now, what has happened is owning a car is no longer an aspirational stuff. People feel that it's better to go for an Uber and Ola and still have fun with life, and they don't want to spend money. They don't want to be boiled down to be one car. They can change the cars, they can change the colors, they can have chauffeur driven cars. All of that is possible by spending probably 1/100th of what they would have done, if they were to own that stuff. And the same logic absolutely aligns well with the gig economy for the tech workers. As an employer, I do not want to hire someone who I cannot retain, who I cannot give a growth path, right? I while I hire someone in, as an example, I probably hire someone in Python, and 3 years down the line, the Python would not be no longer be Python, and something else will come over, and this guy has to be reskilled, retrained, and it's a start from scratch essentially, right? And in that sense, I would rather not spend my energy on retaining and mentoring and grooming this gentleman for 3 years and then letting him go and work on something else and hire someone fresh after 3 years. I would rather outsource this completely. It could be an outsourced as a project out. It could be outsourced through a freelancer, options. But it just works like a magic. It works like a charm, and I feel that it is a win-win ecosystem wherein even employers like us, we save a lot of time, money, bandwidth, and B, it actually adds a layer of freedom to these new generational workers who feel that they do not want to be tied. They want to be free. They want to work for a month and take 3 months break. That's practically humanly not possible in any bureaucracy. We all want to, but unless we come out of it and do something what others are doing, probably we cannot afford to do that. So I think yes, this is what is going to, this is the future. This has been there for quite some time, and it is taking a significant. It's actually going up seriously up. Over to you there, sir.
Thank you so much, Chirag. I think, Rohit, I completely agree with what Chirag has mentioned. The gig economy is the way to go, right? So there is no doubt about it. Um if you look at it from employers' point of view also, and I hope that Amit would also agree, that given an opportunity, in order to create the balance that Amit was talking about while he was mentioning about the hiring process and the skills, which is the hard skills, soft skills, but a balance between the cost, so the right talent at right time at right cost. These are the three the key pillars. So one is this particular thing. The second thing is that with this change in the because of the pandemic, in the global scenario of employability, right, there are more and more opportunities for these youngsters today who are yet to be hired, or who have yet to start their career, to become part of the global workforce or part of the gig workforce, right? So when you're doing a gig, it doesn't matter working across geographies, global work. So you part of the global workforce, which is pretty much possible, which is pretty much prevalent trend in the industry. But at the same time, if I may highlight some of the things in the interest of the students, that they can take care of certain aspects. What is bothering corporates today? Even Chirag mentioned that he would like to hire a freelancer, or someone from the gig workforce, right? But what happens when Chirag is working on a particular critical project for the organization, where he has the deadlines and he has to report to the board a progress of that particular project, but a freelancer who does not come with that kind of an ownership, because there is no hard binding there, right? So, the worst could come is that freelancers say that, hey, I couldn't work because of whatever genuine reasons on your particular project. If you're not happy, don't pay me, right? I mean, that doesn't work, because I mean, it's easy for them to face the situation, easy for very difficult for anybody who's in the corporate role to face that kind of a situation. So that's where I think the nuances of gig economy and where to involve the gig economy. And so I mean, when the cloud adoption started in the corporate, there was this whole discussion about whether to move core or whether to move the sundry systems on the cloud, because we can't afford to take any hit on the core side. I think that's the phase, that same phase we are going through in deploying the gig economy. For a gig economy also, it is very important, Rohit, to understand that there are humongous opportunities with the students out there today to be part of the gig workforce. But when you get into the gig engagement, you are supposed to be delivering results from day one. You cannot say that there is a learning curve, or I need to understand what your company wish, and all that. So depending on the maturity of the company, that they communicate their requirement clearly to the gig workforce or gig worker, right? The person has to start delivering on day one itself, right? So that's something. So one is that. Second is the soft skill that Thomas spoke about, right? Which is very important. If you have to become the part of the gig economy, your soft skill has to be excellent, so that you are able to understand, you are able to communicate, you are able to empathize, you are able to, so the all elements are important for a person to have on day one itself to become the part of gig work. But yes, I completely agree that that's the way to go. That's the way economy is going, and that is the future, right? So that's my take.
So Rohit, I have some stats I wanted to quickly share on this. It might be interesting. So, this is a stat. There is a research that was done by Deloitte. It's a 2019 Global Millennium Survey. And what they said was that over 60% of millennials actually do gig work on the side. So that's a fact. Actually, 60% of millennials actually do gig work on the side. That is one thing. And the second thing, and this was even, in fact, even reported by Josh Bersin, who's one of the gurus of HR. He said that, look, and some research that they did, it showed that, employee satisfaction is far higher when an employee does more than one job. Employee satisfaction is far higher when an employee does more than one job. And some research also has shown, in fact, Freelancer did a research which said that actual job satisfaction among gig workers is almost 8 to 10% higher than the average full-time worker. So these are some interesting stats. And the other thing, which to refer to some point that Daya was talking about commitment of freelancers and things of that kind. So there is another research which has said that 25 to 30% of the workforce in sectors like internet businesses, IT, ITES, startups, hospitality, and so on would get converted to freelance or gig roles in the medium term. Right? Now, the big challenge is that organizations, and Josh Bersin refers to it as well in his 2020 HR Tech report, he says that organizations are not ready for it as yet. But the pandemic is going to force them to accept it, because they don't even have platforms. Today, they have these HRMS solutions which can handle their employees and so on. They don't have platforms where they can manage these contract and freelancers and gig workers and measure them and so on. They rely on the platforms, the third-party platforms provided by Upwork and Freelancer and so on and so forth, but they have nothing of their own. So there is a whole lot of things that are going to happen here in the medium term in terms of technology enhancement of platforms that organizations need to take, that the mindset change of leadership and organizations to start accepting that gig work is a way of life. So in other words, as a friend of mine mentioned very recently, the gig train has left the station. It's up to people and organizations to see whether they would like to jump onto it. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. My last question, I think Chirag and everyone has to leave. And we'll start from Amit. Amit, when do you foresee things becoming normal? I mean, while you are not, you should not be asked this question because you've hired more people in last 6 odd months. But overall, from an industry perspective, just to soothe some nerves at the students level, when do you foresee technology hiring coming back into the fore again and becoming normal? Plus,
Rohit, yes, very relevant. To point to that, I see that I've been following some reports, and there were studies coming in by Gallup, Deloitte, and all that. The impact on hiring, Rohit, is not as such severe as we see. The companies who had projected the monk force is just down to line 10%, 20%, and max when they projected it. So, in my point of view, I see the normal never gone. It's just about that we kind of you see the curves when you hit upwards, like the alternating current waves. It's just about the same thing. You now at the bottom part of it. It's just about taking the V-shaped curve and coming to this. It's as I said that due to the regular framework of mind, when you say okay fine, let's go higher, would be another 2 quarters of story when things would be aligned to the same work flow in terms of quantum of new jobs coming into market and then closures coming in. But what I see is that the work is still on, and the sentiments are just kind of little down, and that would take another 2 quarters before everybody would not remember this, that this time came, and then things would be normal. So we have projected as a company to be in again cross run or in premises office solutions by the March April 2021, where we would have workforce coming to collaborate in premises solutions and all that. It's just about about 2 more quarters where we see things to be pretty much very normal as they were by March 20 and time around that.
2 quarters. Chirag?
Yeah, so I concur with what Amit was saying. Essentially, different industries would have a different curve. I mean, I won't say that it's flat V X U K. I mean, God knows. I mean, I was telling all these letters, but every industry would behave and respond and react, or go back to some sort of normalcy in different time period and then a different curve, right? So let's talk about aviation to hospitality. They probably are the worst impacted. Tourism probably would be the third one. But imagine if you talk about industries like education tech, very very strong now. I mean, fintech, it's again very big now. Health tech, again very big. So as I was trying to tell, I mean, in the beginning of my conversation, that what has happened is that COVID-19 has done is it has accelerated the trends that were inevitable any which ways. E-commerce will go up, brick and mortar retail may come down significantly, and that was happening even before. We were talking about all of those trends earlier, irrespective of COVID. And tech is the ability of the tech is to harness this, or translate the business outcomes, and business outcomes are not, and tech is just an enabler. So I personally feel, to answer in a pinpoint manner, I don't think anything is left behind. There are companies like real estate. I mean, real estate, as a matter of fact, it is traditionally, it has been observed that the tech adoption is just above agriculture. Now, even in real estate, we are an industry is adapting to tech seriously, because there's no other alternative to survive in this industry. So it has become a hygiene factor. It's not an either or option anymore. It has to be done. So tech would become an enabler, and innovation, as we normally say, innovation, unlike real estate, which is only location dependent, this is completely location independent, and it's a matter of time. I think it's like, leave behind the 3 months and 2 lakh job losses which you have quoted, Rohit. I personally feel, just leave behind those 3 months. Our numbers will be significantly different than what we saw 3 months back and what we are going to see in 3 months from now. I'm just not talking about economy moving back to normalcy, but I'm talking about tech jobs. It will come back quickly, and it is pretty much back rather.
So, 2 quarters. Amit, Chirag says maybe 3 months, 1 quarter. Thomas, sir?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I was actually listening to a very interesting interview of Rajesh Gopinath, CEO of TCS recently, on CNBC, and interestingly, he said that that there's a lot of action right now happening in UK and in the US and in Europe, because the Indian revival of our economy, of tech jobs, for example, is all linked to revival of economies in the US and Europe and so on. Not so much the Indian economy per se, because most of the jobs are from overseas, to some extent from India. And so just to give you some information, their deal pipeline today is 1.5x of what it was at pre-COVID levels. And this is something which I've also spoken to a couple of other very senior CXO profile in a couple of the other tier 1 and tier 2 IT services, Indian IT services companies, guys based out of the US, and they've all said that the deal pipelines are extremely strong. And there's a lot of opportunity that they're seeing in markets like Europe and so on. So Rajesh did mention that I think they have made some 40,000 offers in the last quarter. They have already onboarded 10,000 of them, and their next year recruitment cycle is already starting in October. So and that's one. So it's not just linked to the top tier companies, but even the mid cap companies. And the classic case is Happiest Minds. They've had a fantastic IPO, right? Despite being a mid cap. So there's a lot of positive sentiment around these companies, and they're all starting to show signs of recovery. So yes, on the ground it is going to be something like about 2 quarters before we're going to see some significant action. But there's, I think, plenty of business to be done in the US, particularly because there's a whole lot of digital transformation that's happening, and every company which has been low tech touch is going into high tech touch. So I think there's plenty of work to be done, but it will also call for a whole new set of skills. And I think that's where the challenge lies. It's not so much about when will you hire, but it's a question about, do you have the skill sets to deliver on those of deep tech for driving those new age digital transformations that clients are expecting. I think that's the bigger challenge to my mind. Thank you.
Daya sir?
Yeah,
Last
Rohit.
word.
Yeah, Rohit. So I think, based on our experience at Talent on Lease, I can clearly say here that, people don't have to worry about the hiring cycle or, hiring curve, when it is going to come back or not. Because trust me, at Talent on Lease, we are facing challenge of availability of the resources, quality resources, right? There is, lots of opportunities out there in the industry today. As I said in the beginning also, that you have to be part of the digital transformation journey or the innovation journey of the organization today, or the business continuity plan. And when I speak about these three things, whether it is digital transformation, innovation, or business continuity, the skills that are in demand today are majorly cloud, data analytics, and AI and machine learning. So, and from a core tech point of view, I would say that there is a dearth of full stack developers in the industry today. So, if you have any of these skills and a right mix of the soft skill as well, because our experience also says that whenever we process a particular profile for a particular client, or for a particular job opening that they have, right, the first thing that they ask is that, before even we share the information of the candidate with them, how good is the candidate in terms of communication skills, because that is the key. And then the second is the presentation skills of the candidate. So once these two parameters are cleared, then only they look at the technical skills. And in technical skills, we see that our challenge, at least at Talent on Lease, working with various prestigious clients, is that we have not been able to hire for them because of the lack of the quality of the resources. So if you think that you have the right quality, you have the hands-on skills on these technologies that I spoke about, feel free to reach out to us. Actually, there are many people out there who are looking for right candidates, right? So in my mind, the hiring spree is already on. So you don't have to worry, but you have to bring the right skills to the table so that you can be considered and become part of the workforce.
Thank you, Daya sir. So just to kind of sum it up now, what we've learned from all the learned speakers is there's no dearth of jobs available. All you need also is to upskill yourselves and come to the expectations of industry. Work on your softer skills while you are working hard on your technology skills, and everything is not lost. Just hang in there for 3 more months, and you will have your respective jobs in your hands. Thank you so much. Thank you for you giving your time today to all of you. Thank you for giving us time on a Saturday morning. We look forward to interacting with you, on regular basis from here on. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so
Take
much,
care.
Thank you.
Rohit. Thank you,
Thank you,
Amit.
everyone. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you,
Good
Thomas.
catching up, Amit. Thanks.
Great,
Bye-bye.
great interacting with you.
Bye.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good day. Bye. Thanks.